Koutou te wharea. Mr Chair, the Green Party has a strong interest in both the detail and the intent of the bill and in all the parts, but especially Part 3. And we would agree with a number of comments about the right to go to court, although having spent a bit of time in some courts as a non-person, I have a very unromantic view of a court where the tests are too difficult for people to pass. Of all the Green MPs, Materia Ture has lived the issue through the parliamentary process in depth and detail. However, if we do not obsess on the detail but actually look at the intent of the bill, all of us in this country have a contribution to make. And there are people out there who are emailing me and Facebooking all day saying, what on earth are these people in Parliament talking about? Can you please make this comprehensible? Because people do not understand why the debate has become so esoteric. So I'm going to attempt to be slightly less esoteric, which should be quite easy for me as a non-lawyer. Part 2 is focused on the rights and tests, and of particular importance is the definition of customary marine title. And this really doesn't sound like a tikanga-based definition, though it definitely has a strong marine flavour and many fishhooks. One of the most fundamental issues is the test for a marine customary title requires tangata whenua to show that they have, in Clause 60B, exclusively used and occupied the specified area from 1840 to the present day without substantial interruption. It is necessary to ask who benefits from this Clause 60B. And in my limited experience, a limited list of hapu from even Te Tairawhiti may be able to pass this test, but who else and where else? And even within that rohi where I was privileged to live for 8 years, I can think of numerous examples where mana whenua hapu simply could not pass that test as a result of colonisation. And I'd like to cite 2 examples where the mana whenua hapu who live on the coast cannot have confidence in this particular test. Would the people of Rongomo Wahine and Opatama, who lost their access to the foreshore by various means to the local authority, who then sold it to a camping ground, who then sold it to a developer to make a wealthy subdivision right on the foreshore, would they be able to claim unbroken title without substantial interruption? Probably not. Nevertheless, it is they who maintain passionate katiakitanga and responsibility for that part of the coast and who welcome people to come as manuhiri and have holidays there, but who were marginalised from the decision making and will continue to be marginalised and may not be able to pass the test. Then there is the interesting saga of Te Kuriapawa Young Nick's Head and the customary relationships of mana whenua to that piece of coast where tangata whenua first saw young Nick on the bowsprit of the Endeavour. Nai Tamanuhiri had uninterrupted access until the land was alienated and became a farm owned by a local family who then put the maunga on the market, and the marine area around Te Kuriapawa was put at a price that the tangata whenua could not afford to buy back. So Te Kuri was bought by an American stockbroker called John Griffin, who offered the family a lot more money, and the possibility of regaining land title to their sacred maunga and access to their customary marine coastal rights was lost. If the stockbroker is in the mood or chooses to invite them, they may have access to their coastal and marine area. That is not a customary right, and that is not an exercise in justice. And that ancestral relationship is substantially interrupted. Therefore, how will these people be able to pass the test? And the right in both cases to be the decision maker under Section 60B is seriously undermined in this clause. It may be that proving, however, that a protected customary right is a lot simpler, because if you're gathering kai Moana and launching waka, it's an activity that can be maintained without substantial interruption despite colonisation. So that for some of the people in the coastal area, they can go and gather kai even though they've lost access, but they cannot necessarily exercise any decision-making over their ancestral whenua or over the foreshore and seabed in their area. So it is our view that this test has been deliberately set up to create a failure, even in places where Te Tairawhiti, like Te Tairawhiti, where some believe they will have no problem proving this actual situation. So the Green Party actually believes that the tests and the legislation are chosen by the government because they meet the government's political objective to make the process as difficult as possible for hapu and iwi.